I'm not the person my family remembers from that Christmas. They remember the woman who stood in the hallway holding 3 crying toddlers while everyone else climbed into 2 SUVs wearing matching holiday sweaters, laughing as if I'd volunteered for the job. They remember me saying one sentence that stopped every smile in the room. "I'm not staying this time." The silence that followed was louder than the children. My name is Hannah Brooks. I'm 34, a pediatric occupational therapist from Manchester, and for most of my life I was known as the dependable one. If someone forgot a birthday cake, I baked one. If someone's babysitter canceled, I stepped in. If a family argument needed smoothing over, everyone called me. Being reliable sounds like a compliment. Sometimes it's just another word for being easy to use. The Christmas everyone talks about wasn't the first time my family expected me to stay behind with the children while they enjoyed themselves. It was simply the first time I refused. But before I tell you what happened after I finally said no, I'd love to know where you're watching from and what time it is where you are. It's always amazing to see how far one family's story can travel. The tradition started after my older sister Claire had her first child. "It'll only be for an hour," my mother had said. 1 hour became 3, 3 became the entire afternoon. The following Christmas, my cousin brought twins. "You're so good with kids, Hannah." The year after that, my brother Daniel became a father too. "It's easier if you stay here, they already love you." Every year, the adults exchanged expensive gifts at restaurants, visited Christmas markets, attended theater shows, or spent hours at fancy holiday dinners. Every year, I remained inside whichever house we'd rented, surrounded by juice boxes, cartoons, spilled snacks, and children asking when their parents were coming back. The strange part, nobody ever asked. They announced it like weather. "Hannah's staying with the kids." It became such a certainty that they stopped looking at me after saying it. At first, I convinced myself it didn't matter. I loved my nieces and nephews. None of this was their fault. But love and exploitation are 2 different things, and my family had quietly blurred that line for years. One Christmas Eve, I overheard Claire laughing with our aunt in the kitchen. "We don't even have to hire childcare anymore," she joked. "Hannah actually enjoys it." Both of them laughed. I stood outside the doorway holding a tray of cookies. Something inside me cracked, not because they expected it, because they genuinely believed I had no life worth protecting. Still, I said nothing. I always said nothing. Looking back, that was probably my biggest mistake. The next Christmas was supposed to be different. I'd finally been promoted after years of working impossible hours. My best friend had surprised me with tickets to a Christmas concert in London. I planned to leave the family gathering by 6. I even mentioned it weeks beforehand. Everyone smiled. "No problem." I believed them. That turned out to be another mistake. Christmas morning arrived, everything seemed normal. The children opened presents, we laughed, we ate breakfast. For a few hours, I thought maybe they'd finally started respecting my time. Then around noon, my father clapped his hands. "Right then, everyone ready?" Claire immediately placed her toddler into my arms. Daniel handed me his baby bag. My cousin passed over the twins' coats. "Thanks again, Hannah," I frowned. "Thanks for what?" Claire blinked. "For watching them." No, the room froze. "I told all of you weeks ago I have plans tonight." My mother forced a smile. "Those plans can wait." "They can't." Daniel sighed dramatically. "Seriously, it's Christmas?" I looked around the room. Nobody seemed embarrassed. Nobody apologized. Instead, they looked annoyed, as though I had broken some invisible contract I'd never signed. My father folded his arms. "Family comes first." I nodded slowly. "Exactly." Then I handed Claire's son back to her. "So you should take your own child." I've never forgotten her face, pure disbelief, as if I'd spoken another language. But I had no idea that refusing to babysit was about to uncover something much uglier than holiday entitlement. Claire burst into tears, not sad tears, angry ones. "You're ruining Christmas?" Daniel shook his head. "One afternoon, Hannah." "No," I answered. "It's never one afternoon. It's every Christmas. It's every birthday. It's every family wedding. It's every time someone wants free childcare." Nobody responded. Because everyone knew I was right. Then my mother played her favorite card. "After everything we've done for you," I laughed. Not because it was funny, because I honestly couldn't remember the last thing they'd done for me. That silence exposed more than any argument could. Eventually they left with their own children, slamming doors behind them. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I cried. Years of being treated like unpaid staff don't disappear just because you finally speak. But what happened the following week changed everything I thought I knew about my family. My grandmother invited me to tea. She rarely asked anyone over privately. "I've been watching," she said quietly after pouring tea. "I should have spoken years ago." I didn't understand what she meant. Then she disappeared upstairs. When she returned, she carried a thick envelope. Inside were photographs, letters, old Christmas cards, receipts, even handwritten notes. "What is all this?" she sighed. "Proof." Apparently my grandmother had noticed the pattern almost 10 years earlier. Every holiday, every gathering, every family event, she'd started documenting it. At first she thought maybe she was imagining things, then she realized something disturbing. Every single celebration contained dozens of family photos. Except one person was almost always missing. Me, because I was behind the camera, or upstairs putting children to bed, or cleaning the kitchen, or babysitting. Page after page showed smiling relatives posing beside Christmas trees while I was nowhere to be seen. I suddenly realized something heartbreaking. My family hadn't just stolen my holidays, they had erased me from them. I couldn't stop crying, but my grandmother wasn't finished. "There is one more thing." She handed me another envelope. This one contained a copy of her updated will. I frowned. "I don't understand." "You will." She explained that several years earlier she'd intended to divide everything equally among her grandchildren. Then she'd watched the family spend years treating me like unpaid help while everyone else enjoyed themselves. So she changed it, not out of revenge, out of fairness. She believed I'd sacrificed enough already. I begged her not to tell anyone. She smiled sadly. "They'll find out eventually." I had no idea how soon that would happen. 2 months later, my grandmother passed away peacefully. The funeral brought everyone together again. People hugged. People cried. People shared memories. For a few hours, it almost felt like we were a normal family. Then the solicitor began reading her final wishes. The room changed instantly. My grandmother left personal gifts to everyone. Jewelry, keepsakes, charitable donations. Then came the final section. She left her cottage and the majority of her savings to me. The room went silent. Claire looked stunned. Daniel actually laughed. "There has to be a mistake." There wasn't. Then the solicitor read something my grandmother had written herself. "If anyone wonders why Hannah receives more than the others, it is because she has spent years giving this family her time, her holidays, her kindness, and her peace without asking for anything in return. Consider this not a reward but repayment." Nobody looked at me. They couldn't, because suddenly every Christmas they'd conveniently forgotten had become impossible to ignore. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. Within days my phone exploded. "Hannah, we should talk. We're family. You know Grandma wouldn't want division." Then came the requests. Could I sell the cottage and split the money? Could I lend Daniel enough for his mortgage? Could Claire use it for the children's school fees? They all spoke as though my grandmother's words had never existed. Finally, I invited everyone to the cottage, not to negotiate, to finish the conversation we'd avoided for years. They arrived expecting compromise. Instead, I placed several photo albums on the table. Nobody understood. I opened the first page, Christmas, everyone smiling. No Hannah. Next page, birthday. No Hannah, wedding. No Hannah, holiday barbecue. No Hannah, page after page, year after year. Finally, Claire whispered, "You were watching the kids." "Exactly." Nobody spoke. I looked at each of them. "I didn't lose one Christmas. I lost almost 15. Daniel rubbed his forehead. "We never realized. You never wanted to." My mother finally began crying, real tears this time. "We thought you liked helping." "I did. I just never realized helping had become my entire role." My father stared at the floor. "I failed you." Those 3 words took longer to arrive than they should have, but they mattered. Claire apologized too, not perfectly, not dramatically, just honestly. "I stopped seeing you as my sister. I started seeing you as the solution." That sentence hurt more than anything she'd said before because it was true. I kept the cottage, not because of the money, because it represented something I'd spent years trying to earn. Value. These days, Christmas looks very different. Sometimes my nieces and nephews stay over, sometimes they don't. If I babysit, someone asks. If I say no, nobody argues. And every Christmas afternoon, I leave when I choose. The world doesn't end. The children are fine, the adults manage. Funny how quickly people discover solutions once your free labor disappears. I've learned that family isn't measured by how much you sacrifice. It's measured by how carefully people protect your peace while asking for your help. The hardest word I ever learned was no. But that single word gave me back every Christmas I still have left. And I've never spent another holiday wondering whether I deserve